Okay, so now we have our sole and our heel drying. And while we're waiting, I'm going to show you how to actually fondant your box using styrofoam for today's purposes. If you were to use a cake, you probably would want your cake to be about at least 4 inches tall, so that it looks like a real shoebox. And really, the biggest thing is that you want your shoe to look like it could fit inside the shoebox. So this looks like it would fit. That's fine. You don't want your shoe to be grossly larger or smaller than the shoebox. It will look a little odd. Now you can actually cover the cake or the shoebox in one big piece, or you can panel it. I like to panel the shoe boxes because it gives it a real box look, because you'll have seams on each corner. So what I've actually done is I've prepared ahead of time some fondant pieces that I've rolled out and measured to the exact lengths of these each side. And then the shorter ends, I'm just going to I added just a titch on either end so that it will nicely cover the seams. And I'm actually going to panel them right on. I put them into the freezer so they're nice and rigid, so I can actually just kind of stick them right on the side of the cake. So I'll grab those now. Okay, so I'm now going to put the pieces of fondant you can see here that I've pre-cut. I'm going to attach them to the cake. And if you're using real cake, you just need a nice thin coat of buttercream around the outside of your cake. For this purpose, I'm just using a little bit of shortening that I've already put on the side of the cake. So I'm actually going to put sides on first. And since it's nice and cold, it's really easy. It stays nice and straight. Okay. And then I'm just going to attach the two sides here. Look at that, it's a perfect box. Okay, so our box is all paneled, and what I've done is I've pre-cut a piece of white for our lid. And basically what I did is I measured the actual box and I added about an inch, a little more than an inch on each side, so that'll be the overhang. And I prepped that with, again, a little bit of buttercream you would put. And you're basically going to just put it on top. Sort of eyeball it so that it's about the same on each side. And I'm going to pull it to a point like this on either edge. You could also do an open box if you want. I'm showing you a closed box. Okay. And now, just with a pair of regular scissors, I just snip the excess off. And the cool thing is when you go to make the cut, it just forms sort of a little seam right there for you. So you don't even have to worry about it sticking together. If it's very dry in the winter, you might want to add a little bit of water, just so that it makes sure that your edges stick together. Okay. And then the last step is, although we've measured it, sometimes it does pull a little bit when you go to put it on, so it can be a little bit uneven. So I'm just going to use a ruler. Let me just trim this a little more. I'm going to use a ruler. The best way to do it is really to just sort of get eye level with your cake and sort of just mark where you're going to need to trim a little excess off. And I'll just use my X-Acto blade and trim. You want to make sure you don't push too hard so that it goes all the way through the lid onto the cake, or you'll leave a mark. So you're almost scoring it, and then you can go back and cut away the rest. Okay, so now our heel is nice and dry, and I'm going to cover it with a piece of gum paste so that it matches the rest of the shoe. So I'm just going to take a very thin piece. I rolled this in less than 1/16 of an inch, really as thin as you can possibly get it without it being too difficult to work with. And you can brush with some water going to basically wrap it around with the seam facing the inside so you don't see it. I'm going to use a scissors just to cut the excess off. And now I'm just using an X-Acto knife and I'm going to trim the rest off. Okay, so now we have our heel, it's completely covered. And I'm just going to take a little water with my finger and kind of rub the seam so that it kind of will disappear and you won't even notice anymore. This is the back of the heel now. And now what we're going to do, we're going to take a little piece of black gum paste, very small, and we're just going to make a little foot of the heel. I'm going to roll a little ball. And now I'm going to take my styrofoam over here. Because I'm going to need to use it at this point. So I'm going to put the little black piece down, put a little bit of water right on it. And I'm going to push the skewer right through.